into yokuba kunengxaki yolwimi nento yoba ela polisa khange libuze njengoba ubuzwe ngulona kabanzi ngale nto.
Question. Do I understand you to say that the long statement which you made in February 2013, which was written out in handwriting and later typed for us, 24 pages, that statement was taken by someone who wasn't a Xhosa speaker, and there was a language problem? It's in respect of that statement that there's a language problem. Is that what you're saying?
Ndikuva kahle esi statement uthi besinengxaki yolwimi nengavani sesi sathathwa ngoFebruary ngo2013 esi
with that.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I'd like to move on, Chair. I think that's a matter for argument ultimately.
Well, because there was certainly a statement, another statement, which he referred to, where he said it was taken by someone who was a Shangaan speaker, I think. But my recollection was that wasn't this one, it was another one. That's a matter that can perhaps be clarified in evidence later.
Right. Now, Mr. X, I want to start by showing you the two pictures from the video of the 13th on which you identified yourself. Could we go to...
kweza video zembini zange 13 apho uye wasikhomba wena wasibona bukhona kuzo.
Could we go to the I've given the operators photographs of Mr. X on the 13th, the ones taken from the video. We've extracted them from the video. Could we have those two, please? This is photographs of Mr. X on the 13th. Could we have the first one?
The photos ukuvezayo phambi ngomhla we13.
This is part of an exhibit already, but I think we should give this its own exhibit number, which will
This will be quadruple A 31.
Triple A 33, I'm told, Chair. Quadruple A, rather.
Well, I thought it was 31, but if Ms. Pillay knows about what 31 and 32 are, then I will obviously bow to her superior knowledge.
Chair, I've just reserved those two exhibit numbers for the cell phone records of Mr. Matundu and Mr. Mzuza.
Oh, I see. All right, okay. So we will make this quadruple A 33 extract from, are these stills that you're showing or actually?
Chair, this is a still extracted from the video which has been shown.
Still extracted from what video? What
from the video Triple H61.
Video Triple H 61. So before you carry on, can I ask Mr. Matibedi to do something? Would you please inform the evidence leaders and us who took the statement, which was the February 2013 statement, whose handwriting it is, and what his home language is, and what languages he can speak or write, and whether an interpreter was used.
Thanks, Chair.
Right, now you see that photograph?
Bona ke le photo mhlekazi. I see.
When you gave your evidence in chief, you identified the man with the pinkish blanket as you. Can you see him?
Ebungqineni bakho ke uthe la ndoda yombethe ingubo ethanda ukuba pink nguwe. Uyayibona la ndoda? Yes, I see the man.
That is correct, isn't it? That's the man you identified as yourself.
Yiyo lena ke uthe nguwe la ndoda. Andit? Yes, Mr. Chair.
And if we look at the trousers which that man is wearing, his trousers are white. He's either got white trousers or a white overalls on.
Asijonga ke pha penzansi ibhlukhu ayinxibileyo imhlophe ngaba ibhlukhu okanye overall uyayibona? That's my work, the work overall.
Yes. And then if we go to can we go to the next photograph?
Masiya ke photo elandelayo.
Chair, I think in fairness, if Mr. Bartlander can point the trouser on the screen, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, somebody got to point it.
You can point it, but I mean, is it necessary? You can see the pink blanket, and immediately below the pink blanket you see white trousers or overalls, and below that you see at least one boot. You just confirmed it yourself. But maybe the witness has got colour issues. Maybe he's colourblind. People to see how he can identify himself.
Mr. X, I'm now pointing to a person who's on the left hand, towards the left-hand side of the photograph. He's wearing a pinkish blanket, and we see that his overalls or his trousers are white or light-coloured.
Yabona kapho ndalatha khona yabona lanto ibomvu yolathayo yolathe umuntu ombethe ingubo ethanda ukuba pinki nebhruku okanye overall emhlophe uyibonile lanto yabona apho ndalatha khona ngo yabona lanto yolathayo pha efotweni.
Yeah, ndayibona Judge.
Yes, I see it.
I think those are actually overalls, not trousers. Is that right?
Ngathi ndacinga uba i-overall yayiyobhruku andithi.
Wetata le njengoba undibona undikhangela phayana ngetheni zasingakasebenzisi yesa umuntu elala apha hlala khona.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as you are searching looking for me on that photo, on the 10th we had not used the muti. We were sleeping at our respective places.
Umuntu ebesalala apha hlala khona nge10 nange11 kuba nge11 ekuseni ndabe ndalala lapho ndihlala khona ndavuka ndaya emeetingini.
That was still the case on the 11th, because on the 11th, the morning of the 11th, I woke up from my place and went to the meeting.
Zange ndiye apho ndihlala khona kusukela uba ndiqale kustarta umthi ukusebenzisa iye.
Only after I had started using the muti, I did not go to my place.
Yes, you used
Yeah.
Sorry.
Koningin? Kabeli? That is all, thank you.
So you used the muti on the 11th. That film was taken on the 13th, so it's after you used the muti.
So wasebenzisa ke umuthi nge-11 and le photo sijongileyo ithathwe nge-13, so uqalile ukusebenzisa umuthi.
Tata.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And then can we go to the next photograph, which you also identified as yourself?
Asiya ke kwifoto elandelayo nalapho uye was-identify wasikhomba khona.
Budman, did we make this one quadruple A 33.2 and the previous one 33.1?
I think that would be convenient, sure.
So this is a still extract from what exhibit?
This is also an extract from video material of the 13th of August.
Yes, but what's the exhibit number?
It's described as Exhibit Z1, sure.
Yes, okay. I saw that. So exhibit quadruple A 33.2 is still extracted from video exhibit Z1.
Thank you, Chair. And you'll see towards the right-hand side of that photograph is the man you identified as yourself. I'm marking it with the laser. Do you remember that?
La mfondi molathayo ngoku ngulo ubuthe nguwe. Yabona lanto yolathayo ibomvu?
Is that correct? Is that's you? That's
No.
the person you identified as being yourself.
Emveni komsuthu tata nomsuthu wanxibe ithisha iskipa esimhlophe sikazukileyo mna ndinguyena ugaba.
I'm behind the Sotho-speaking man who was wearing a torn T-shirt.
Can you see the man that I'm pointing at?
Mamel masenze lula lento. Uyabona lento kolathwa ngayo ngokwemani usuku mama.
Ndiyayibona tata.
Uyabona ke bayikhombe bani lanto?
That's the person.
Ndiyayibona ikhombe mna.
Yes, that thing is pointed at me.
Yes. Now, just for the benefit of those who are going to read the record in after years, the bottom right-hand corner of the photograph is a man with a black jacket, looks like an anorak maybe, with a white and black striped T-shirt, and behind his right shoulder is the person who's being photographed.
Amchaza kusihlalo lento siyolathayo.
And the picture we can see is probably a bit clearer than the one you can see. That one also shows the pinkish blanket and the light or whitish trousers or overall pants.
Yabona ke nakule ifoto lo muntu esimolathayo pha uthi nguwe unxibe usambathe kwalangubo ipinki nento ebruko kanye overall emhlophe. Mhlambi le ifoto yethu ubonakala better kuneyakho kodwa ngiyakuxelela ba
You see that?
uyabona lonto?
Kusendimi lo benimkhomba cha ke kule kunge13 ngalemini sihamba phaya noba nge13 saqala sema pha ca amapipe anamanzi kwakunepipe amapipe anesmoke nawamanzi esaqala sakhokha uba kula mapolisa azodibana ngaphambili kufuneka singathethi sonke kufuneka uthethe abantu abathathu kuphela sonke
Dabule. Yes, Mr. Chair, but that photo was taken on the 13th. Because on the 13th, we first stood there, caucused near some water pipes. Namely, that when we made the police, we should not all speak. Only only 3 people should speak.
Ya sakhethe abantu abathathu Ikolani sakhethe umsuthu lo msuthu lo avelileyo anxiba isikibhe esimhlophe acophe ecawa amambusha noxolana abantu azasibashusile kuthethe bona kuphela singathethi sonke.
We appointed Kolani and Msutu, the one who's standing there with the t-shirt. Those people were to speak, not all of us.
Yes, the previous photograph we saw, which is exhibit quadruple A 33.1, according to Mr. Butlander, was also taken on the 13th of August. So one would naturally expect you to be wearing the same clothes.
Mamela, uyabona le photo siphuma kuyo ngaphandle kwale ephambi kwakho ngoku. Lesiqale ngayo. Nayo apho la photo bivele ubuvele kuyo ummeli. Uthi ke mnumzana uButlander na la photo ithathwe nge13.
Okay, ndiyayibona.
Oh, okay, Mr. Chair, I see.
Right, now I'd like you to look at a photograph of the committee caucusing on the 15th. It's quadruple A 25.
Sawujonga ngoku ifoto ebonisa ikomiti icaucus apha.
It's, for convenience sake, well, it's quadruple A 25, yes. Now, there's the arrow shows the person you identified as yourself. You see that?
Ebona ke kule photo kukho iarrow ngapha ngasesandleni sokunene ekhombe umuntu nglamuntu uthe nguwe lo ya. Uyayibona lo arrow? Lanto ikhombileyo pa.
Right?
Uyayibona? I see it.
That person is wearing dark trousers. Can you see that?
Uyayibona lento ba la muntu ukhonjwe pha kula photo ngokunxibe
blue jeans. It's blue jeans. Can you see that?
Ensundo kanye eblue. Nxibe jeans eziblue. Uyayibona lonto?
We can see it clearly on the small screen which we
Uyayibona tata ibhlukwe.
Ibhlukwe itheni? Uyabaleka ngoku. And if
Ndiyayibona tata i-overall ndandifake i-overall phezu kwala bhlukwe tata sandiyitshintshe la bhlukwe.
I see that, Mr. Chair. I was wearing the overalls on top of the pants. I did not change the pants.
So where are your overalls on that picture?
Ngoku overall iphi kulo umfanekiso? Iphi overall kulo umfanekiso?
Phansi ndibandile ifaka. Iyavakela ndiyayikhipha. Into enjengale avakele ngalo muntu angasente avakele sayikhipha kuyibe ecala ndifake indishibhlukwe bakuchisa.
Take off the overalls and put it aside. I was only wearing the trousers. It was hot.
So you changed your clothes. You took off your overalls.
So uchenjile ngoku impahla zakho waphula overall.
That is not change of clothing. I think
it's not for Mr. Mataderi to answer that.
No, Chair. I think.
Yes, Mr. Butlander, I think to be fair, if you take off your overalls that you've got on over... Sorry, he's saying... What's the answer? What's he saying?
The witness is breaking. You can see he's talking, but...
All right.
Chair, I think with due respect, I think if I object, I think there's a proper way of dealing with the objection. Unlike Mr. Bandlak, coming. No, Chair. Chair. But Chair, I think
Opportunity to say something first? I was on the point of ruling on your objection and upholding it as a matter of fact, when the witness started saying something, and I requested that what he said be interpreted. So don't fight with me. I think I was actually saying to Mr. Budlinger that if you have overalls on over your trousers and take them off, you're not changing your clothes. So I was upholding the objection you were making. So don't fight with me. But the witness then said something which has not yet been interpreted, and I asked that happen.
Chair, I'm not objecting to what the chair is saying. All I'm saying, Chair, is that if I make an objection, I think there's a proper way of that objection to be dealt with. And this is not the first time. There are times when I make objections. I mean, Mr. Butler looks back at me and howls at me. That's the complaint, Chair. I mean, if they object, I don't do that, Chair.
Mr. Butler, I know advocates sometimes get excited in the course of cross-examination, but Mr. Matabedi is correct. You don't have to turn around and glare at him just because he's raised an objection. But anyway, let's move on. Can we please hear
what
you said?
Chair. Can I ask? Is this a ruling by the chair that when a man is wearing overalls and takes them off, he's not changing his clothes?
When he takes his overalls off and the trousers are underneath, he's not changing his clothes. Yes, that's my ruling. But let's hear what he said that wasn't interpreted.
Bendizama ukumamela kodwa waqhawuka. Ugqibele usithini kanene?
Bengisithi tata i-avaroli ndiyibeke ecaleni ngenxa uba indiphungule impahla ngona ikhona i-avaroli qha ke ndiyibeke ecaleni bendiyifake i-avaroli ngaphezulu kwale mpahla.
Mr. Chair was saying I took off the overalls and put it aside and reduced the number of the things that I was wearing.
Must also interpret that and bendiyifaka i-overall phezu kwale mpahla.
Yes, and I was wearing at times the overall on top of what I was wearing.
And what did you have on your feet?
Enyaweni bunxibe ntoni?
Ikubuza tata.
Intoni?
Iref.
Boots.
Yeah.
I was wearing boots.
So what happened to the boots?
So pelele because only boots.
Siboots esindisifakileyo tata.
Though it's the boots, pair of boots that I'm wearing.
Are you saying that the equipment on your let's look at where your foot is.
Masijonge inyawo zakho uba
Pointing to your foot.
Yabona apho ndalatha khona zinyawo zakho eziya.
Are you saying that is the same footwear as the gumboots you were wearing on the previous photograph?
Uthi zizo ke zangambutsi ubuzinxibile kula photo besibone ngaphambili.
Or did you change your shoes?
Okanye zitshintshile izihlangu.
Tata yazi ndifuna ucacisela ne. Inje.
Let me explain.
Uyabona jonga uba kuthiwe masingatshintshi
As you
impahla.
were told not to have a change of clothes.
Jonga undibona ngoku. Ndinxibele le bhatyi imnyama le black ne.
As you see me now wearing this black jacket.
Usukela kufuneka kuphele 7 days. I7 days ndingahlambi ndisebenzise lo mthi.
You have to stay for 7 days without a bath after using this muti.
I7 days ukusukela nge11 ukuma nge16 ngoba kufuneka wali 7 days bayayiphela ngeyiphi date 7 days.
So you must
Le
count.
7 days sibekele umthetho welayeza silityile entabeni.
You must count when the 7 days expires from the 11th until the 16th after having used the muti on the mountain.
Yeah, ngoku naye ngotata ndizama ukuthi ngona ke mna njengangoku. Ujonga le ijacket le bhatyi oko ndikule commission ndisayinxiba ndiyitshintshe le bhatyi le.
So what I'm trying to say, this jacket, for instance, ever since I started attending the commission, I've never changed this jacket. I'm wearing this jacket every day.
Andihlambi ndihlala ndisula nje indawo iipasi ezithile zokuhlamba.
I do not wash or take a bath. I only wipe certain parts of the body.
I understand that, and perhaps you'll be asked about that later. But what you were asked about was those are shoes that one can see clearly on the screen as far as I can see.
Ndiyayiqonda le
So,
nto uthethayo
if I'm
ngoku
wrong, you must tell me.
ngaye mpahla ozinxibileyo ngoku kodwa sithetha ke ngalaa foto esiyibonayo laa mntu kuthiwa nguwe phaa unxibe izihlangu
The question,
kanxibanga iibhutsi.
the point is, on this photograph, on the 15th you are wearing shoes. On the photograph on the 13th you are wearing gumboots. Now, how do you explain that?
So ke kule foto ithathwe nge-15 ubunxibe izihlangu kodwa kule thathwe nge-13 ubunxibe iibhutsi ichaza njani loo nto? Ndiyandiva?
Hayi ndiyakuva tata.
I hear you. Uzawuphendula ke?
And what's your explanation?
Nge-15 ubunxibe izihlangu kodwa kwifoto ithathwe nge-13 ubunxibe iibhutsi ichaza njani loo ndawo?
Ndanxibe ibhutsi
Gumboots.
tata.
Andiva?
Ndanxibe izinto ezihlangu tata.
I was wearing these shoes, sir. Mr. Chair.
Yes, and on the 13th you're wearing gumboots.
Kodwa nge-13 ubunxibe iigamboots.
Igambu hayi tata ndandifake le nto igambhusi tata iavaroli hayi tata ngeke.
I was wearing gumboots, the overall, no. And if
Ndanxibe kanje.
I was wearing like this, Sam's pointing to the picture.
Let's go back to the photograph of the 13th then.
Masibuyele ke kulaa foto yange-13.
The first of the photographs on the 13th, could we have that?
Foto yokuqala phaa e-13.
That's quadruple A 33.1.
Quadruple A 33.1. There's the photograph of you,
Nansi ifoto ke ekuvezayo phaa.
and we can see that you're wearing gumboots, not shoes.
Siyakubona phaa unxibe iigamboots awunxibanga isihlangu.
Igambhusi tata akho gambhusi le.
Now that is not a gumboot.
You say these are just ordinary shoes.
Oh, uthi zizihlangu nje eziqhelekileyo ezi.
Zisezihlangu tata zeziquza ziphekwayo ezi ndisifakileyo zihlaziquzisi. Ikawusi leya niyibona ivele phaa eyana ndifakela avarol ndinyusele ikawusi ndayifaka iavarol ikawusi phezu kwe-avarol ndayinyusa uba ndisishotshela uba kweya ndawo lihlathi izobhabha le avarol le.
Mr. Chair, we're in a bushy area. That is socks that you see up the sleeve of the overall. I tucked the legging of the overall inside the socks to keep the overalls in place.
Mr. Buitlander, does it not look like there are laces there on that loop just above the foot? It really does look like a knot of the lace.
I can't see that, Commissioner, but that's no evidence that they're not there.
It's perhaps clear on our screen, but it does look like the bow of a lace tied.
Well, let me move on from this.
Okay, maske sisuke ke kule ndawo.
I want to look more closely at the person in the video of the 13th. Could we go back to the sequence of the 13th, please?
Nokujonga kakuhle lo muntu opha kule video e-13.
Now, I want to look at the third photograph in the sequence on the 13th. Could you show that, please?
Jonga kule foto esithathu.
That will be exhibit 33 quadruple A 33.3. And we can see you in the bottom right-hand picture of the photograph looking directly at the camera.
Siyakubona phaa uyibonile laa nto yolathayo uba ilathe phi kuthiwa ilathe wena phaa ujonge ikhamera. Yes.
And then the next one is a bit clearer than that. We see you again
Yes, siyakubona nalapha iyacaca bhetere ke le.
looking directly at the camera, wearing your pinkish blanket.
Ujonge ikhamera usambathe laa ngubo ipink.
Ngiyayikho.
And if?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to say to you that I'm not an expert on, well, none of us is an expert on faces, but that face looks very different from your face. That's a round face. Yours is a long face.
Yazi ke noxa ke singenalwazi singafundelanga ukujonga abantu
Can we?
nobonakalo yomuntu la muntu simbonayo phakafani nawe unobuso oburound ungafani nawe lo muntu.
Hayi tata, ndim lo.
No, Mr. Chair, that is me.
Have the person that we see on that photograph has got no gap in his front teeth. Do you see that?
And la muntu simbonayo phakula photo akana gap apha ngaphambili emazinyweni.
Can you see that?
Uyayibona?
Nama na gap tata anayila.
I also don't have a gap.
Have you got a gap in you? You see that person has no gap in his front teeth.
Kodwa kuyavuma uba lo muntu esimbona pha efotweni akana gap.
Would you smile for us? Show us your front teeth.
Okanye ngawuthi sibona wakho amazinyo?
Would you smile and show us your front teeth?
Awusmayilele.
There's a gap between your two front teeth.
Give us a nice smile, Mr. X.
Smile mangaka.
There's the gap in your front teeth. Why isn't it not in the picture?
Nansi gap sayibona pha amazinyweni wakho kodwa la kula photo kubonakala gap.
Tata inene. Hayi.
Mr. X, I want to...
Really? No.
Fair. He's trying to say something.
Oh, well, I'm waiting.
I think we must give him an opportunity.
Mamela uthi hayi nene wathini?
Hayi, andivumi nani tata.
No, I don't agree with you.
The commissioners can make their own observation as whether you have a gap in your front teeth, which is different from what we see on the photograph.
Lengileke commissioners awusibonela zizithathela isigqibo ke ngalonto ngegap.
I don't know, is it possible for us to unzoom the picture we're looking at, or possibly to have a clearer picture of his face? Because I noticed he has what looks like a scar in a sort of bow shape from the top of the middle of his nose, above his right, halfway above his right eye. And if that isn't, the picture isn't very clear. I can't see it on this picture, but to be fair, this picture may not be clear enough to distinguish it. Other pictures of the same person?
We have the one which is on the screen at the moment, Chair, and then we have the next one, point 4, which is a close-up. Let me tell you, Mr. X, what I think the problem is. I don't think that's you in that photograph. And I'll tell you another reason why I think that. I don't think you were there on the 13th. And the reason I don't think you were there on the 13th is that you don't know what happened. Is that in February last year, you didn't know what happened on the 13th. Let me
tata
let me explain it this way.
Tata ikhampani number yami uye pha elon mill ujonga uba ndiyintoni namsebenzi wami elon mill RDO.
Take my number, go to Loanmin, my company number, go to Loanmin, check what my position is there. I'm an RDO.
And number 2, uphinde uyobuza kulon mill uba zintoni ezistrayikile elon mill.
And secondly, go and ask the Loanmin people who were striking on the day.
Elon mill.
At Loanmin.
Ezaziye time office yofuna 12,500.
Who are the people who went to time office to demand 12,500 rand?
Injalo ke tata.
That's how it is.
How many RDOs work for Loanmin?
Zingaphi RDO esebenza pha eLoanmin?
Andizazi tata ngenxa yoba ilon mill ine hostel ezintathu yi-Career kube yi-Western kube yi-Eastern ilon mill.
I do not know, Mr. Chair, but Loanmin has 3 hostels. It's Career, Western, and Eastern.
And some RDOs also live in the informal settlement, don't they?
Ezinye ke RDOs hlala pha emekhukhwini andithi? Ezinye zihlala emekhukhwini.
Eya hostel akusiya iyapheli hostel pha umuntu uqatshwa ahlale ngaphandle we living uhlala isihola imali living is sleep out pha where mine.
The hostel issue is now over. A person gets hired and he would stay outside, what we call living out.
That's right. Now, I want to know, according to the evidence we've had, there was something like 3,000, I think there were probably more, but let's stick to 3,000 at the moment. Something like 3,000 RDOs working for London who were on strike, who were on the copy. During the daytime anyway.
Bungqina esinabo i-RDOs ezazistrikile phazipha endulini zazipha ko 3,000. Umngqina butsho njalo.
Chair, I think it was 3,000, there were 3,000 strikers on the copy, but I don't think they were all RDOs. Perhaps there were some hundreds of RDOs.
Perhaps the London people can tell us, how many RDOs did you have working for you at London?
Chair, just for the record, my name is Michael Yates.
Yeah.
For London, well, I'll get an instruction from London on exactly how many people were on strike.
Never mind the strike. We want to know how many RDOs there were who were on strike.
Yes, we'll get those instructions.
But according to the evidence, there were a substantial number of RDOs on strike, who worked for London, who were on strike, and only 200 of them were at the railway line on the 13th. So the fact that you were an RDO and the fact that you were on strike, if those two, I take it those two facts are correct, doesn't prove you were at the railway line. What do you say about that?
Kuthiwa ke zininzi i-RDO ezisebenza pha eLondon kodwa ngolo suku lwe-13 ngamakhulu RDOs bezipha kodwa ke abangamakhulu nje amabini 200 bebepha ngase-railway line. Andithi kwezo kulawo makhulu we-RDO bestrikile ngelo xesha uthathe ke kanye amawaka bestrikile uthathe amakhulu amabini we-RDOs kuthiwa ke elonani belipha ngakumzila kaloliwe. Uyandiva?
Ndiphinde tata uthini?
Pay the question.
With pleasure. The evidence indicates that there were quite a big number of RDOs who were on strike. Well over 1,000.
Ubonisa into uba ngamawaka i-RDOs baninzi i-RDOs azistrike apha ngalo mina andithi?
And on the 13th, only about 200 people, strikers, were at the railway line near Donkokop.
Kodwa ke nge-13 abantu bebepha ku-railway line by 200 qha.
So if one accepts that you are an RDO, if one accepts that you were on strike, it doesn't follow that you necessarily were at the railway line on the 13th of August.
So xa siyamkela ke into ba ubustrikile.
What's the answer to that?
And i-RDO leyo nawe loo nto ayithethi into uba kubukhona phaa kwabo abantu bebephaa kwi-railway line. Into yoba bustrikile uyi-RDO ayithethi into yoba nawe ubuphaa kwi-railway line. Andithi uthini bona kuloo ndawo?
Khona tata.
Andiva?
Khona tata.
Wawukhona? I was there.
Mr. X, there are two reasons why I suspect that you weren't there. The first reason is that I suggest to you the person you show on the photograph is not you.
Zimbeni izizathu zoba ndisola uba ubungekho phaa. Kokuqala laa mntu zimbonayo phaa efotweni ayinguwe.
We've been through that. I'm not going to go there again.
Sijongile ke loo nto sathetha ngayo andizubuyela kuloo nto leyo.
The second reason is that when you made your statement in February 2013,
okwesibini kuba xa wenza istatement sakho sikaFebruary 2013
at Phokeng,
phaa ePhokeng,
you did not know what had happened on the 13th.
Ubungayazi into eyenzeke nge-13.
Let me read you your statement and I'll show you why.
Ndiza kufundela esa statement sakho ndikubonisa uba kutheni sitsho njalo.
Could we have quadruple A 1.2, page 12? And we go to the sixth line. This is what you said in your statement.
Namhlanje ke 19 ngawesi-6
in February 2013.
ngoFebruary ngo-2013.
You say the tall police officer said that he was going to start counting and that we must disperse and surrender our weapons.
Utela polisa lide lathi lizawuqala ukubala fanele sichithakale sibeke izixhobo phansi.
The police then started counting from 1.
Qala ke babala beqala ku-1.
And before he could finish shooting, I hear some gunshots being fired from the side of the police.
Phambi
Side of the
koba
police.
agqibe ndeva ke kudutshulwa
It's
ngapha.
counting.
Did I misread it?
Exhibit at page 11, paragraph 19, near the foot of, 4 lines from the foot of the page. It appears differently on the screen. That's the passage you read.
I must have misread it.
He said that he was going. That, according to the copy we were given by the police, the type copy, is page 11 of 18, paragraph 19, 4 lines from the foot.
18. Thank you. So let's just read it again.
Masifunde futhi.
The tall police officer said that he was going to start counting and that we must disperse and surrender our weapons.
Elapolisa lide leyathi izawuqala ukubala fanele sichithakale sibeke phansi izixhobo.
The police then started counting from 1.
Amapolisa akaqala counter kanye ipolisa aqala counter kusuka ku1.
And before he could finish counting, I hear some gunshots being fired from the side of the police.
Phambi koba gqibe ukubala ndeva ke kuqhuma isibhamu kwelicala lamapolisa.
I also saw Mambush and Baye shooting at the police.
Bona ke noMambush noBhayi bedubula bejongisa emapoliseni.
The police first shoot it upwards there.
Mapolisa aqala dubula ke ejongise phezulu.
Thereafter, I was caught or affected by tear smoke and started running around looking for cover.
Nantsika ke ndahaqwa ke nantsika umseyo kanye tear smoke ndabaleka.
So what you
Iyozimela.
Sorry. So what you said in your statement is that the police started shooting while General Mpembe was counting. You see that?
Uyayibona ke lento esifunda phaka kusa statement sakho ukuthi amapolisa aqala ukudubula uGeneral Mpembe lapolisa lide lisabala.
Now we know that's not true.
Kodwa siyayazi bayonyani lonto leyo.
So why did you say that in your statement in February 2013?
Kutheni ke ubhalise into enjalo statementini sakho sika February ngo2013?
Tata phayana kwenda utata elipolisa lide kunotata weseduzana apha kuthi.
Mr. Chair, in the scenario of that tall policeman, there was a man who was nearer to us.
Lo tata samdlula engadubule esikhombe ngesibhamu kuphela lo tata sedlula kuye engadubuli sasemlindi ba makadubule uqala.
We walked past that man without him firing. He pointed a firearm at us but did not shoot. We're waiting for him to fire.
That's not an answer to the question, Mr. X.
Awuphendulile umbuzo ubuzwa wona.
In your statement in 2013, you said that the police started shooting while General Mpembe was counting. That's not the truth.
Into esithetha ngayo apha yokuba kwesi statement sakho sango2013 uthi amapolisa aqalisa ukudubula uGeneral Mpembe esabala. Lonto ayonyani leyo uba amapolisa adubula uGeneral Mpembe esacount esabala.
Sorry.
No, uthi hayi ndoda.
Tati uba uMpembe wayacounter pha wathi ndizoba wathi asidlula nento siziphetheyo apha uzobala watsho wa counter wabala thina sesisukumile thina sesiyahamba ngenkani.
General Mpembe did count. He said we are not going to go through with these things that we were carrying. He then started counting. We had already stood up and we walked against his wishes, whatever I was saying.
What your statement says is the police then started counting from 1. And before he could finish counting, I heard some gunshots being fired from the side of the police.
Amela, into ithethayo estatementini sakho uthi aqalile ukubala amapolisa bathi 1 kodwa ke besa bengekagqibi.
What we've seen on the video is that he was going to count to 10, he counted to 3. At that point, the striker stood up, walked away, passed the man by the rock with the gun. They walked for at least 100 yards. I think it was about 300 yards. And it was only at that point, after a tear gas canister was fired and there was a stun grenade, that police started firing shots in response to attacks from the striker. That's what we've seen on the video.
Kodwa into esiyibonileyo kwivideo into yokuba kubaliwe pha kwafika ku3 emva koko nabakhankalazi baphakama baqala ke behamba beyogqitha laa ndoda bemepha ngaselityeni kwadutshulwa ke i-tear gas sebambe umgama ongaba mhlawumbi ziyathi ezilikhulu wadutshulwa ke i-tear gas ne-stun grenade emva koko ke amapolisa aqala ukudubula bephendula kule nto yenziwa ngabaqhankqalazi okanye hlazo labaqhankqalazi.
It's possible that you thought that the stun grenades were actually shots being fired with live ammunition.
Kungenzeka ke into yokuba ngeli xesha kudutshulwa ezo nto ezo stun grenade le nto nesithonga wena ubucimba kudutshulwa ngeembumbulu eziphilayo.
But that was not while General Mpembe was still counting. It was after the strikers walked away in the direction of the Kopi for, I think it was something like 300 meters.
Kodwa nolo dubulo laloo nto ke ayikwenzekanga ngeli xesha uGeneral Mpembe esabala besekwanjiwe ibanga mhlambe elingama meters athi egqibela ukubala. Uyandiva?
Ndiyibhalise kwephi statement onto tata?
In which statement did I mention that, Mr. Chair?
In statement which you made in February 2013.
It's a statement usenze ngoFebruary ngo-2013.
Esisenze kuba uChomela.
The one I made to Mr. Chomela.
Well, I've asked the police to tell us to whom you made the statement. But the statement you made in February 2013 is the statement which contains the passage that I read to you from paragraph 19 on page 11 of the typed version.
Eso statement usenze ngoFebruary 2013 sesisinalaMhlathi bendiwufunda ngokube sovezile ngokupha escreenini.
Tata wengasiva ukuthi isixhosa uba ungumchangane mna ndingumxhosa.
Mr. Chair, that gentleman did not understand Xhosa well. He is Shangan and I am Xhosa.
Webhala amanye amagama ekenye igama uba ndithe abhale u-B yena abhale o angabhali a azingavani apha ekuthetheni.
There was a misunderstanding. If I say A, he would write B.
Mr. X, you made a statement under oath.
Wenze istatement ke usifungela ndithi?
Is that correct?
Wathatha isifungo ngobhalisa statement basinyana.
Andizange ndifunge la ndibhala istatement nje.
I did not take the oath. I just gave a statement.
Oh, you didn't take the statement. So the captain is wrong when he says you took the oath.
Captain pa ubhalisa statement uthetha uxoxa ithi uthathe isifungo.
Is he lying?
Wasifungela esa statement uba lento endithetha apha inyani. Uyaxoka.
Tata isithethe nasiphetha sibhasa ukuthi kulona kutata kwatata daza ukufunga umisa isithupha ndithi zange ndimisa isithupha ndithi
raise your hand like this is not so that I did not do.
Yabhalisa statement kuphela ulatata mna.
I just made a statement to that gentleman.
So
istatement sokufunga ndisicela kude kwa-organizwa umuntu owazi isixhosa ndabhalisa isixhosa kuye ndabuye ndabhalisa istatement kakuhle sevala ngokuthetha zasingevathetha kulo tata.
They had to arrange a Xhosa speaking person or person who understood Xhosa to whom I made a statement. And we understood each other.
Was the statement read to you and interpreted to you before you signed it or put your thumbprint on it?
Phambi koba usisayine ke okanye ubeke isithupha pha kwesa statement wafundelwa sona ukuba uqonda uba uyasivisisa.
Yeah, ndasifundela tata.
Yes, it was read back to me.
And it was read to you in a language which you understood?
Uchazelwa sona ke ngolwimi olwaziyo ngolwimi oluqondayo.
Tata.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And you didn't say to them, no, this statement is wrong. The shooting started later, not while the counting was taking place.
Khangutsho ke kubo ba hayi esi statement sibhalwe wrong. Udutyulo la enzeka later alwenzekanga ngeli xesha kusabalwa. Elapolisa lide lisabala.
Hayi tata zange babuza uba ndidutshula isikhathi sina ku-counter laa mntu ndathi qha wakhawunta uba uPembe ndazova isijonga zange kubuza uba ukhawuntile kwaze kwazodutshulwa nini amapolisa adubulane zange ndibuza into ezinjalo utata lo ndibuza imva ebendiqonondisa yena. endilandelela sendingalandelelwa ngoba ndibhala statement ndandisibhala nje ndibiza nje half.
No, Mr. Chair, I was not asked when the shooting started. I just mentioned in my statement that the police started counting and then there was some shooting. Uthi ngibani lo beqonondisa omnye kubuza half?
Uthatha lo ndibuza emva kwestatement samva. Wabuza uba wadutshulwa ke ndibala maybe imizuzu yami ngaphi na ecounter sasisiyaphi sasisindawuni na endibuza. I'm director because ngoba ndibhalisa isiyana ndandise-confused kuba ndandisesengxakini elohlobo ndingabikho phansi kogcina isabethabetha.
Ndicela uba xa uphendule into endizakwazi ukumamela ndikwazi ukuyitolika. Xa uthetha into ende akuncedi ngoba andizoyiva yonke loo nto uthethayo. The gentleman to whom I made a statement later asked me thoroughly and asked me at what point was the shooting, whether the counting was still on, how many minutes had the counting been going on when the shooting started.
Mr. X,
sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Badlana.
Ininzi lento oyithethileyo nje le ndawo uba utata lokubuza istatement ungathethi mamela nje.
And no, he also said that he was confused. That's very important.
Mamela, ininzi lento oyithethileyo ndivele kuthiwa uthe ke ubu confused futhi. Dithi utata lo uthathe kuye obhalise kuyi statement okwesibini ebekubuza nokuba bese kunemizuzu emngakanani kukhawuntwa ngelixesha kudutshulwa ndiphelele apho ndive kancinci ke kanye ndiyakhunjuzwa nokuba uthe ube confused. Ikhona enye into oyithethileyo ndixela ndathi akuncedi ukuthetha into ende endingazuyibamba.
Ndithi tata owatata wendibuza phaya kwe statement wengandilandeleli njengalo tata lo wandibuza emva.
Emake, the gentleman who took the initial statement did not lead me thoroughly like the gentleman who took the later statement.
Akazange andibuza uba njengoba bekhawunta lo tata ukhawunte ixesha elingakanani.
He did not ask me how long did the counting go on. Ngaqhubeka thetha kakuhle ngoba mthetha sentence umgca ube mnye. Ngaqhubeka
akazange andibuza ukuba njengoba ebekhawunta ukhawunte ixesha elingakanani.
Did not ask me for how long did the counting go on.
Yeah, I would that.
Yes.
Mr. Interpreter, there are 2 points. The one is, I'm told that you said to him at one stage that he was talking too fast. You can't interpret. You took too much.
Yes. That is correct.
You mustn't do that. You mustn't say anything to him that we have said. If you do say something to him, you must interpret what you've said as well. I have said to him this.
I understand.
You mustn't just do things like that. But I'd like to ask a question.
I'm sorry, Chairperson, to do this. Just in case that's a separate thing, there is still a part where the witness, which I would like to be confirmed with him, which was not interpreted, not because of the fault of the interpreter, because he went on for a long time. And things obviously were left out. But the one part that I do not want to be left out is where he says, and at that stage he was still confused and he was not under police protection. That's going to be important for us.
That is correct.
That is correct. Now, I'd like to ask a question. We're talking now about the February 2013 statement. You say the person who took the statement didn't ask you the same question you asked later.
So, thetha ke ngestatements ka February 2013 uthi la muntu wayethathisa eso statement khanga kubuze ezinto njengalo. Yes, Mr. Chair.
That's the statement where you say, apart from the fact that you weren't asked questions about things, so they didn't find their way into the statement, is that also a statement where things were incorrectly recorded because of language problem?
Sesi statement ke uthi ezinye izinto aziveli kuso ngoba khanga ubuzwe ngaso. Siso futhi esi statement ukuthi sinengxaki into asibhalwanga kakuhle ngenxa ubani ingavani ngolwimi. Siso so statements ka February 2013.
Tata zange sivane zandiviya umsisi.
We did not understand each other.
So
Utkangenivani.
was that because the person who took the statement, home language wasn't Xhosa?
Kangenivani ngoba lo muntu ebebhalise so statement ulwimi alithethayo sosixhosa. Ayingomxhosa lo.
Ewe tata.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
How many statements did that person take from you?
Ulo muntu lowo ke bungavani naye wathatha istatement ezingaphi kuwo.
Istatement ezathathwa phayana abantu abathatha istatement baye bathathu bangabetswana baye kwangumtswana kwangwathatha umchangana kwazoba ngulomxhosa ke nguna ke endibakhumbulayo.
3 people took statements. It was a Tswana speaking person, the Shangaan, and the Xhosa speaking person.
I want to know from you, the person who took the statement, long statement, that Advocate Budlinder quoted you from, where you about the counting and the shooting and so on. The person who took that statement, how many statements did he take from you?
Dithetha ngalo muntu othathe istatement kuwe esiside esi umnumzana uBudlinder abuza ngaso ngoku malana nokubala nokudujula uba kudujulwe sekubalwe kwafika waphi lo muntu lo uthathe istatement ezingaphi kuwe.
That statement esinye tata.
He took one statement.
Was there only one statement, therefore, which was taken from you by someone who wasn't able to communicate properly with you because of language difficulties?
So
is that this long statement that Advocate Budlinder quoted you from?
Sinye ke istatement esithathiweyo kuwe ngulomuntu bungavani naye ngolwimi esiside. Siso qha statement esithathwe ngulomuntu kuwe. Lo muntu beningavani kakuhle ngolwimi uthathe nje esi statement isinye esi umnumzana Budlinder abuza ngaso side.
Ewe tata.
Yes, Mr.
See, previously when you gave evidence when being led by Mr. Makbedi, you referred to another statement which contained wrong information, which you said was caused by the fact it was taken by this person where there was a language problem. And that was the statement. I didn't mark my one, but Ms. Pillay will tell us what it is. It's a statement from a docket in Marikana CAS 205/08/2012.
Yabona ke ngelaxesha usanika ubungqina ke ukhokelwa ngumsemathebedi uthethe nangesinye istatement esithathwe kwangu lo mfo beningavani kakuhle ngolwimi ndilibele nje inumber yaso.
And in that statement, in paragraph 6,
paragraph 6 weso statement isimayilana necase ethile ke yapha eMarikana.
you describe what happened on the hill on the 11th of August.
Uchazile ke into enzekileyo pha entabeni nge11 kaAugust pha kusa statement.
I see it's quadruple A8.
Quadruple A8.
You described how the Sangoma and another man came. They were the son, introduced themselves as the sons of the traditional healer.
Chaza ke kufika kwesangoma nenye indoda okanye bathi ke abo bantu bangabafana okanye onyana benyanga.
You talk about the test that was done on the box.
Wathetha ke nokuba baye batesta benza uhlolo pha eboxini besebenzisa ibox benibonisa.
And then you say, and then the statement says this. He displayed a test on the box, which he did ritual on it, as well as 2 goats, and he fired shots at them, and bullets could not penetrate them or injure them.
Wathi ke wenza lo test esebenzisa ibox kukhona ke nebhokhwe ezimbini wadubula imbumbulu khange zingene.
And you said the reference to the goats was not correct. That's not what you said. And that was caused by the fact there was this language difficulty between you and the person who took that statement.
Wathi ke le nto yokuba kuthethwe ngebhokhwe pha ayonyani yenzeke ngenxa yengxaki nokungavani kwenu nalo muntu ebethatha istatement.
It's a different statement from the statement from which Mr. Budlinder was quoting to you.
And esike statement kufundela sona apho kuthethwa ngezobhokhwe othe ke phazamiwe apho ayisiso esi umnumzana uBudlinder ebethetha ngaso bebuza ngaso ngoku.
You said there was only one statement taken where there was a language problem.
Kodwa wena uthi sinye qha istatement esithathiweyo kwaba nengxaki yolwimi nengavani.
And that, according to what you told us previously, was the statement which had this incorrect reference to goats.
Nto sixele yona ngaphambili kuba istatement besihambanga ngendlela sesisithetha ngebhokhwe.
It's not the statement from which Mr. Butler quoted you, the long statement, which contained the reference to the counting and the shots being fired while the counting was still going on.
Esi statement sithetha ngebhokhwe ayisiso umane ubuzwa ngaso namhlanje nje njengoba umnumzana Butland ekubuza sinengxaki zokubala noba kuqale ukwadutshulwa nini sesinye esi.
What do you say about that?
Uthini ngalonto? Uthini ngalonto?
One pinde.
Can you repeat the questions, please?
Yes, certainly. You told us that there was only one statement in respect to which there were language problems when the statement was taken.
Uthi kaloku wena sinye qha istatement osenzileyo kwasaba nengxaki yokuba ningavani ngolwimi.
You told us previously when Mr. Matabedi was leading your evidence.
Ngela xesha ke usasinika ubungqina bakho khokelwa nguMr. Matabedi.
That the statement in respect to which there were problems because of language difficulty.
Uthe ke istatement eso kwakunengxaki ngenxa yolwimi.
Was exhibit quadruple A8.
Says ke quadruple A8
where there's an incorrect statement in relation to goats.
Apho kuthethwe ngebhokhwe khona.
The statement recorded that, as I read it, that shots were fired at a box as well as at two goats, and the bullets couldn't penetrate the goats or injure them.
Esa statement ubuthetha ngoba kwadutshulwa eboxini nebhokhwe ezia imbumbulu zangangeni kulo box ngenxa yoba benibonisa uba umuntu uyasebenza.
You explained that there was no mention of goats and there were no goats at which shots were fired which couldn't penetrate. That was a mistake.
Wasichazela ke futhi uba hayi akho nto yazibhokhwe phakanga kudutshulwe sibhokhweni.
And that statement that mistake got into the statement because the person who took it couldn't speak Xhosa properly.
Ngokwathi ke wena into bakubhalwe kuthethwe ngebhokhwe pha into bakuphazanyiwe phazamile lo mfo ngoba bengasazi isiXhosa.
And you said there was only one statement where there were, in respect to which there were language difficulties.
Kodwa uphinde uthi sinye qha istatement esinengxaki zolwimi.
And it was the statement about the goats.
And sithetha ngebhokhwe.
Mr. Budlinder was quoting to you from another statement you made.
Ngoku esi statement ubumana ubuzwa ngalentsasa namhlanje nguMr. Budlinder ebesebenzisa esinye istatement.
A long statement you made in February 2013.
The statement eside wasenza ngoFebruary ngo2013
which contained these averments that shots were fired by the police while General Mpembe was still counting.
Sithi amapolisa adubula uGeneral Mpembe esabala.
From what you told us, that's not the statement in respect to which there was a language problem.
Ngoke uthi ke ayisiso istatement esasinengxaki zolwimi.
So how do you explain the inaccuracy in that statement which Mr. Budlinder put to you?
Ngoku ichaza njani ke lento engeyonyani kweso statement besisetshenziswa nguMr. Budlinder xa ngabe uthi eso ayisiso sasinengxaki yolwimi.
Dithi tata Mpembe why wathi uyakhawunta njengoba sidibana nathi phaya
sibekukhona. When you met him he said he is counting. Wathi uyabala.
Wathi ucela ubukhali sibushiye asidluli singabushiya ubukhali phansi ubukhali.
Asked us to put the weapons down and said we cannot go through with the weapons.
Wathi wathi ndiyakhawunta ke ngoku.
He said now I'm counting.
Wathi ndiyakhawunta ke ngoku.
Qhubeka bese.
Wathi ndiyakhawunta ke ngoku.
Wathi uyakhawunta kwathini ke? He said I'm counting.
Sabe sisuka kule ndawo besichophe kuyo siyahamba wathi account.
Started moving from this place where we were seated and he said he was counting.
Lixetsha ke ngokwene ixetsha elingalazi zanga ndilazi bayengona wa isithonga satsho esikhathi sini sathini ba sasingaphathi uShentabini.
Now I don't know at what stage did the shots ring off because we did not have watches on the mountain.
No, I understand you didn't have watches, but you'd walked for quite a distance, hadn't you, before any shots were fired?
Ndaqonda naningaphathi watch kodwa nanisenihambe ibanga nyana phambi koba kuqale kudutshulwa.
You don't have to have a watch on your arm to know how far you walked. How far did you walk?
Andivanga about it. Uthini?
Sasesisukile kule ndaba esichophe kuyo tata. Zange nibe saqwalasela kungasemvu ba ingaba ekusuka kulanda yayithini na kuba siyasibona uba ikho uzawuliwa ngoku. Zange benamqwalasela uba engwangule ndaba esihleli kuyo sinexesha elinganani nasisukile pha kulanda.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we started moving from the place where we were seated initially. Now, I did not look at the distance we had covered, how long we walked, because we realized now there will be a fight.
But the counting had stopped
Kodwa
before the shots came.
phambi koba kudutshulwe kuthe xa kudutshulwa ebesegqibela ukubala umpembe.
Andimazi noba ndamgqibela nesithi account azange besambalele noba ude wagqwaphelisa lento ojobe ethi account noba ude wagqiba nokuthetha kuba kwaye kwaliwa emveni kobe wethe uyabala kwaliwa.
I do not know, Worship. Mr. Chair, the last I heard was when he said he's counting. I don't know how far he counted because there was then a fight.
Do you know whether he was still counting when the first shots came from the side of the police?
Uyayazi ba besabala na ngelixesha kudutshulwa xa kuqala kudutshulwe besabala na okanye bese yekile okanye egqibile.
Wathi ndiyakhawunta ngoku. Wathi ndiyakhawunta ngoku.
He said, now I'm counting.
Answer the question. I'll ask it again.
Thina sabe sisuka ngesisukile kulanda sicula sishaye ezanduku zethu. Sichongela sabe sichongela. Kwade wakhala isithonga ke ngoku.
And we had left that place, hitting the weapons against each other, ululating, and then there was a sound of shot or shots.
The question I asked you, which I repeat for the last time, was do you know whether he was still counting?
Ndizawuphinda okugqibela ke lo mbuzo bendibuza wona ongekawuphenduli. Uyayazi na uba ebesabala okanye beseyekile ukubala xa kudutshulwa?
Hayi kulapho ngaqalasela noba wayesegqibile noba engagqibi na tata zange ubesa namqwalasela kuloo ndawo.
No, I did not notice whether he was finished or not.
Right. Well, we'll take the first comfort break at this time.
Sizawuthi xa ke sathe ibreak yokuqala.